We're going to go over the P wave, see what the heart is doing, more specifically what the electrical activities is causing the heart to do. The QRS complex, again, to see exactly what's going through the heart during the QRS complex, and lastly, we'll see what's going on in the heart during the T wave. Before we do so, we should talk about, we'll just really quickly review the cardiac conduction system. And so the cardiac conduction system starts with the SA node up here. The signal from the SA node then goes throughout the atrial down into the AV node, which holds the signal until the atrial are completely depolarized, and the signal then moves into the AV bundle. The AV bundle is also known as the bundle of His or the common bundle. From there, the signal moves into the left and right bundle branches towards the apex of the heart, comes back up around into the ventricle walls and into the Purkinje fibers. So the SA node is located in the right atria near the entrance of the superior vena cava. The SA node, of course, is the natural pacemaker of the heart. It initiates all the heartbeats and determines the heart rates under a normal condition. The electrical impulses from the SA node spread to both the left and right atria, and this causes a simultaneous contraction of both left and right, pushing that blood into the ventricles. The conduction then moves from the atrium, from the SA node to the atrium to the AV node. And the AV node is located in the right atria. It's right at the intersection of both left and right atrial and left and right ventricles. It's in the right side of the atria. And because of its location, the AV node is a perfect gateway for the electrical activity into the ventricles. This being the case, the AV node does delay the electrical impulses to the ventricles from the SA node, so the whole heart does not just contract at one time, and it moves much more efficiently. So if you think the AV node as a traffic signal or a metering light to enter the freeway during commute time, the light will hold you up until it's the most efficient time to enter the freeway. The same thing is happening with the AV node. The SA node is sending that car up the on ramp. The AV node holds that car until the ventricles are ready to receive the car, and then as soon as the ventricles are ready to receive the car, it turns the light green and the signal moves on into the ventricles. And of course it does this because the body performs the best when the atria shoots the blood into the ventricles, and then the ventricles pump the blood into the circulatory system. The AV node sends the delayed signal from the SA node onto the AV bundle, also called the bundle of His, also called the common bundle. And then the bundle of His is then divided into left and right bundle branches, which move towards the apex of the heart. They come back up through the ventricle walls, and they go into the Purkinje fibers in the ventricle walls, covering the left and right ventricles. So now let's see what's going on to the heart as we move through the cardiac conductive system. But before we do so, the EKGs don't see the actual contraction and relaxation of the heart. Instead, we're actually seeing the depolarization and the repolarization of the cardiac cells. So let's define what a depolarization and repolarization are before we move on. And a depolarization is a change within the cell or a shift in the electrical charge. So during depolarization, a mostly negative cardiac cell becomes mostly positive, and this change initiates a muscle contraction. And then repolarization is a changing of a cardiac cell from a mostly positive state into a mostly negative state, and the repolarization tells the muscle it's time to relax. So what's happening during the P wave? So first, the atria will fill completely with blood. As soon as they fill with blood, the SA node, the pacemaker, fires, spreading the electrical activity throughout the atria, causing the atria to depolarize, initiating a contraction. To be a little more accurate, what the P wave is actually showing us is the atrial depolarization, and the contraction will start about 100 milliseconds after the P wave begins. So as soon as you see that first change in direction on that P wave, it's just the depolarization, not the actual contraction of the atrial. So the PQ segment represents the time it takes the electrical signal to travel from the SA node to the AV node. So if you look at the picture here, as soon as the atrial is filled with blood, the SA node fires, and you can see the electrical activity here in black moves down to the AV node, and this is represented in mostly in the PQ segment. So the QRS, very generally, is the firing of the AV node. So we know the SA node fires, depolarizes the left and right atrial. The AV node then holds the signal until they're completely depolarized and the ventricles are ready to accept the blood. Then the AV node fires, moving the electrical signal through the bundle of his left and right bundle branches into the Purkinje fibers. And this is pretty much what the QRS is. It's just the depolarization of the septal wall to the ventricle walls. And we'll go into more detail here. So the Q wave is the depolarization of the septal wall between the left and the right ventricle. So the Q wave is the signal moving and depolarizing the cells from the AV node towards the apex of the heart, and you can see it right here. Again, you see the AV node and the little star, and the Q wave in green, or what the Q wave represents in green, the depolarization of this septal wall towards the apex of the heart. The R wave is the signal moving from the R wave is signal moving from the bundle His, so it's a continuation of the Q wave. And to the apex of the heart. So now we really start to see the A wave down here, or the R wave down here at the apex of the heart in blue, and come back up the ventricle walls into the Purkinje fibers. So this is the R wave, shown in blue right here. The S wave is the last phase of the S wave is the last phase of ventricular depolarization. The S wave represents the depolarizing of the cells where the ventricles and the atrial meet. So right in this area right here, you can see it in orange, and also in the S wave. It's hidden by the QRS complex, but this is where the atrial begin to repolarize, and then shortly after, just within 100 milliseconds, the atrial will actually relax during the QRS complex. The ST segment is the plateau of the myocardial action potential, and this actually represents the contraction of the ventricles pumping blood to the body. So when you see the ST segment, that's actually the ventricles pushing the blood into the body, and the T wave shows the repolarization of the ventricles, and you know from that just milliseconds later the ventricles will relax.